Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Stepping Into Your Leadership. We're in our New York City studio live today again. So I'm really happy to have back Tom Armstrong and Greg Shamie, who are both fantastic managers and leadership facilitators, to comment and give their opinions on some management conundrums. So we have two more situations that I'm going to throw to them. They've never seen these before, and we'll see what they decide to do in the moment. Just like many of us, when we're leading and managing, we're always having to improvise in the moment. And it's nice to have these moments to think about them ahead of time in case it happens to you. So here's your first one, Tom, that I'm going to throw to you. Ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So this one I'm calling the invisible employee, quote unquote invisible. Okay. So I will say that you're a remote organization. Okay. So you're doing a pulse check on your team and you realize one of your remote employees barely shows up in the data. They hit their deadlines, they respond when asked, but they never speak up, offer ideas, or go anywhere beyond their assigned work. They're technically doing fine, but they're invisible to most of the organization, including even putting their camera on in meetings.
Yeah. Is that it?
That's it. So what do you do? Do you push them? Do you coach them? Do you accept it as their style? What do you do?
Yeah. Oh, God. All these are so context dependent, right? I can see a lot of different approaches to this that I think are all valid.
Or all wrong.
Or all wrong.
Let us decide.
So they're hitting their benchmarks, right?
They're hitting deadlines.
Their deadlines are good. They're not failing, but they're just not sort of around. Somehow everything's getting done.
Their presence is not.
They're kind of hidden in the. So I'm assuming everybody's having one-on-ones, but even if you're not, I would definitely. This is someone you definitely need to have one-on-ones with. Mm-hmm. I mean, like regularly every week for a half hour at least, because that's the only way you're going to hear from them. And that could be a phone call. They're very effective by phone. I found. I would, talk to them about it. You know, this is something I'm noticing. I'm not asking the person to change, I don't think, but I might tell them what I think would be results of that approach as an employee. And so, if you can find out what their, we always talk about goals, what are their professional goals? And is their behavior aligned with their professional goals would be one question. I don't want to necessarily impose my vision for their future on them. I want to find out. I mean, of course, there's some of that too, right? But I've known people who are very effective who also they just kind of want to stay in that role. They're not looking to grow. And again, I think we talked about this once before, but it's like I kind of do need some bedrock folks among all the ambitious people too. Just that person I know can do that job really well consistently. So if their goals, if their professional goals are aligned with that behavior, I'm not going to stress about it too much. If they're saying, well, I really do want to become a project manager, or I want to lead teams, or I want to have this person's role in the company, that makes it a lot easier for me because I can say, okay, cool. This is what it's going to take for you to get there. And these are the sorts of behaviors you need to have. You need to turn on your camera because you're basically right now, people don't see you, to be honest, and we want to see you. So here's some things you could do, and you spend time getting there. You don't want to do it all at once, just rush in. But I'm going to try to get more exposure of their kind of views and even their their face on the on the screen, so that they're more present because that's what it's going to take to get into that leadership role. But again, it kind of has to correspond to their goals. If they're achieving results, that's good news.
Yeah, Greg, what do you think?
Well, the thing that's flashing for me listening to this is usually this is an individual contributor, right? And so they're contributing, but they're not deeply connected to, like you're saying, the team and what's happening. We want more for them. And to want more from somebody as a manager is a good thing. And I have to understand what is their passion. What are they doing really well and enjoying, right? Which is the definition of engagement for me. If I'm able to do something really well and be really effective, that is the definition of engagement for me, is figuring out what I do really well and what I enjoy doing. And if I can put those two things together, then my productivity is going to go up. And so as the manager, I'm looking at what are the things that are lighting this player up, and what, combining that with their skill set, and then trying to get more information, like Tom was saying, more information around that and getting them more involved. And in these one-on-one conversations, I'm going to be working on their development. So do they want anything more, like you were saying? Do they want to be promoted? Do they want to lead people? I had somebody I was coaching who was like, I want nothing to do with anything involving team members.
Yeah, but I have a problem with that. Like, that to me in my organization would never float. Like, they never speak up. Okay, so they hit deadlines, guys, but they're never speaking up. They're never offering ideas. Please. I mean, you guys wouldn't put up with that for 5 seconds. I mean, maybe they don't put their camera on occasionally, but still, I want to connect with you. If I'm paying your salaries, I want more than just hitting deadlines. Give me some ideas to the group. Connect.
Absolutely. And so this is where my story was going. So this person was like, I don't want anything to do with other people. I just like computers and I just like code, right? Because I put A in and something comes out. With humans, it's unpredictable. So we were able to change this person's mindset around working with people, and suddenly he became one of the best people leaders that I've gotten to coach. And so he went from not wanting to do that to now like leading people and being really effective with them. And what it was him understanding that he had to communicate and connect with whoever he was going to be leading, his direct reports and his team. And so that was fascinating.
Was that from him seeing a different perspective on it? Or what was what made it shift? Or was it just over time? And
he started to see this idea of communication as essential, and that it wasn't going to just be black or white, right? That you got to be able to work through all different kinds of areas if you're leading people.
Yeah.
So, some of this might be almost semantics or something. If they're accomplishing the roles and the requirements of their role, right? Their responsibilities are being covered. Then I don't really need to change anything. But what Greg's describing, I think, is that it's not communication is an important element of their role, and they're not doing it. So that is a aspect of their job that they're not achieving. In terms of, I need you also to be a valuable member in terms of generating ideas and contributing ideas. So that is now a specific part of their job that they're not doing. And so then I would say, look, your role necessitates this, and you're not, and I need more of that from you. That's a totally reasonable ask. But if they're really hitting if in their role, they're basically doing the role of their job, like not every job in a company really needs, like you could be doing, there's aspects of
I just don't think you'd have them in a meeting then.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily need them in that meeting. That's true.
Unless I guess they need to hear some of that data or whatever. But if someone's not contributing in a meeting and they're in that room, even if it's virtual, their energy is sapping something if it's not contributing. If it doesn't have to be talking, but they have to somehow be present in that moment.
It is a drain, I have to admit. Yeah, having the camera off and no words and nothing.
Nothing. And you're like, are they even there? And everybody in the whole team is like thinking about that the whole time instead
That's why I would even go back to. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to the point of the meeting, because I guess like I was thinking about it like Tom was, like they're doing their things that they need to do, but if they're in a meeting, because like they don't need to be in the meeting. If you're not going to say anything, don't come. Like, why waste our time, right? Because then that's the meme of, right, like recapping. This should have been an email, right? It's like, what are you doing as the leader to make that meeting more engaging? What's the purpose of the meeting? What's the point? So like if in Greg's example, the person's a coder, and you want them to problem solve together, be debugging, you know what I mean? Like making those sessions a little bit more meaty. Even if it's maybe the meeting takes place in a different type of platform, like on Slack or so, meaning like maybe you shift how the meeting happens, because like if it's, I think about what the point of the meeting is, because you might be using the wrong platform for the meeting. Because like if it's like in Greg's example, there's different ways that you can be getting engagement or people working together in a different platform that's not necessarily Zoom, or that's not necessarily cameras on, that might be really engaging for someone that doesn't want to have those things on.
I think it does come back to development, though, because I liked your one-on-one on the phone as a warm-up to then one-on-one with a video call, both cameras on, and validating, hey, this is great, I see you, you're connecting, like really building that person's attention to when their camera is on and they're involved. That is a very good thing, and that's something I want as their leader. And so I got to build that. I got to develop that, right, with them. And so that's really, really important, especially if they're an individual contributor and they just do their thing.
I think he just said something that triggered me too, is like where we work, right, at leadership, it's like Christine, you would never have a meeting that you would not turn on your camera. Like that would be so odd for you to do. But there are organizations out there where the boss doesn't even turn on the camera.
Oh, there's tons. There's tons. Greg and I work with them all the time. So I think that it depends. What is your culture? I will say, though, that, this is one of the reasons why so many businesses are coming back fully to the office, because it's very hard to figure out how to connect remotely. So if you're going to make for a dynamic remote business, I think this is something you really have to focus on and figure out.
We're kind of doing a dive into one aspect of it, which is the online meeting, right? It was a sort of a broader question about the person's involvement generally, but I do something that Tatiana was saying about, the structure of the meeting itself, and if people are even needed at that meeting. I've seen people who are really engaging and would have their camera on. I can name a lot of people who will, in a certain type of meeting where they're like, I see the value added for my work in this meeting. They're very engaged. And at the other one, they almost intentionally disengage as a protest to say, like, I should not even be here. This is so redundant. You have no idea what my job even is. They just get this feeling of it can be demoralizing to be at a 2-hour online meeting that really is not relevant to your own work, or that really is for someone who's maybe 2 years junior in the organization to you, because you already have the information. And so I definitely have seen that happen too, where suddenly this person's very disengaged. So I would ask myself, like, is this about my own meeting structure, and am I asking the right people to the meetings? But bigger picture, if it's more than just the meetings, then.
Yeah, I think it's a good one to think about, because we all have to get better at it. I mean, sometimes if someone says to me, and there's plenty of people out there like this, look, I can't turn my camera on at this time because I'm in one bedroom with my husband's online at this time. I've got my kids coming home, whatever. I've sometimes changed the meeting time to be like, when is it a good time for you to turn your cameras on? Like, let's figure that out. Like, let's try to strategize this. But you're right. It doesn't have to only be their cameras. It's just that seems to be such an indicator. I've even seen recently, I was working with a company actually last week that was using Mural. To Tatiana's point, was a meeting app where you're completely brainstorming together, but there's no cameras on at all. You're looking at a board together in design thinking. You're moving stickies around, you're clicking on things, all sorts of stuff that's very dynamic, but you have to be able to unmute and talk and add something. And, I think it's important, because I think for, maybe I'm speaking to personally to my kids' generation of Gen Z coming in, it's very easy for them to get online and not say anything, because honestly, they were kids in COVID that did that in their classrooms. And because teachers had no idea what to do at that point, we let them get away with it. And so they kind of default to that area. And so I think it's important that we are, as teachers, almost as business leaders also these days. So
I think one of the reasons I like to talk to someone on the phone instead of on Zoom is that when I'm on the phone, I'm not also looking at a picture of myself looking back at me.
Tom can't help but look at himself.
I look at myself all the time. So I just talk on the phone while I look in the mirror. It's much better.
I love it.
That's funny.
All right, I got one more for you. Ready?
Yep.
All right. So I'll go to Greg first with this one. Greg, you ready?
Ready, spaghetti.
All right, managing sideways, we're going to talk about. You're collaborating with another department head on a joint initiative that's important to both your teams, but your peer is dropping balls, missing deadlines, ignoring shared documents, and showing up unprepared to joint meetings. You've built trust with your own team, and now you're asking, why should they keep putting in the effort if the other side isn't holding up their end? Yeah.
Yes, very challenging, for sure. Sideways is always very, very difficult. But usually we have the same boss. We have the same manager, potentially. And so that is an avenue to be able to at least communicate around some of the frustrations I may be feeling, would be upward. not to, cut that person,
tattletale,
not to do that, but just to communicate, hey, look, I'm having a difficult time. You have any suggestions? You've worked with, Tom for umpteen years. What's worked for you? Because it's not working for me, right? Even just saying that to my boss, if I have a trusting relationship, I'm going to get some food from that, some energy from that, some ideas from that. So that's one. Two, again, point the arrow back to me. What could I do differently with Tom? If we're
I love that it's Tom.
Tom and I
It's
are
always
same,
Tom.
same
It's a coincidence,
level, right?
everybody.
If it's not functioning, what could I do differently versus him not doing it? Right? And so I think that, again, for me in leadership, the arrow pointing back to me is the most important thing because it's so easy for me to point the arrow out. And so, and then that then changes my mindset to try different things, to build connectivity, to build relationship, to build trust, to be able to then have difficult conversations with that colleague and say, hey, look, this isn't working for me. Do you have any thoughts on how we can make this work more effectively? If I can get to that point and I can say that and then hear them, then we're going to start to build, right? And that's going to change it.
Awesome. Tom?
This is brutal.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so hard. Yeah, I think you do have to be transparent with, it depends on your relationship with your boss and, your trust in their ability to kind of just be aware. And then, you might say to them, like, I'm not asking you to do anything. I just want to make you aware of this situation. This is how I want to handle it. What do you think? So you're kind of getting their perspective on, because they might say, well, this is why this is happening. Or in this case, we're just going to go with it as it is, right? And then you might follow their lead. But I think what I would do is play kind of, this is hard because you don't want to necessarily make the person feel like you're stepping on their toes. But I would kind of just get in there and start assisting, I guess. Not in the sense of, what I'm actually trying to say is leading. But it'd be like, let's partner up, sit down with them, look at the benchmarks and see like, hey, can I help you out with this? This thing is due on this thing? I noticed it's late. So we can help out with, I don't know, because we got to get this thing done. So it might just take that I have to be more involved with their team for a little bit but I have to do it very carefully and not in a way that makes them feel like I'm just, being a jerk or suddenly taking over. Very nuanced. So I have to rely on my relationship with them a lot, but I'm not going to ask my boss to suddenly make them better. I think involving the boss and then seeing if I can sort of just get involved. Also, that's kind of good because then I'm also helping the overall team achieve more.
Yeah. It's
growing my own skill set in that way.
Yeah, it's amazing listening to you say that. I'm seeing now clearer that it's the power dynamic is taken out of the equation, right? Because we're on the same level. And so a lot of people have to work across this way and figure out these equations.
This is a really common problem.
It's very challenging. And it also puts the onus on me again to really look at what can I do in this situation that's going to help it, like Tom was saying. How can I get in there, sit down, break it down, communicate, get his or her ideas on it, and start to collaborate, which sounds easy in words, very difficult when it's separate entities in the company.
You have to be so careful because it's really possible that you're going to hurt feelings, make someone feel like you're just getting in on their thing, and it's like, what?
But high-functioning teams do it really well.
Yeah.
Because I step in with you and I'm like, Tom is the bomb, right? He's so good at what he does. Okay, so this is going to be a collaborative piece where I'm going to get excited about what Tom does, and you're hopefully going to get excited about what I do.
We have this relationship of trust, and so I'm going to feel relieved if you come in and say, I see that something's, I'm just noticing this element. Can I help with that? I'm going to be like, hell yeah, it's Greg to the rescue. If I have a negative relationship with you in some way or some kind of resentment for whatever reason, I'm going to feel like, dude, get out of my face. Like, I got this. You're insulting me right now.
You're bringing us down.
I don't need you. You know what I mean? It just really depends on the relationship, which is, again, like we always say, it is all about those relationships in order to be able to leverage it in this situation.
Yeah, and I think you're basically talking about fusing of two teams to become one team, and probably no one ever talked about that. like
Yeah.
all the complications that would bring.
Mhm.
And I think that's an opportunity to say that if you're the person going, hey, you know, I just realized it's like we're two separate teams with our own ways of working. And I'm making some assumptions here based on how me and my team work that maybe is different. So can we talk about that for a little bit? I would say that I have this problem brought to me often. So I will often have teams working together on things, and someone will come to me, like you said, Greg, and say, I'm struggling with so-and-so. She's causing blah, 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 blah. She's not doing this. She's not doing this. I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. Help me. And we will brainstorm ways that they can, let's say it's you, in this case, Greg. I could say, okay, Greg, well, what have you thought about this? Or think about this? Or she might be coming from this way, or, you know, whatever. But then I'll always say at the end, would you like me to speak to them, or would you like to talk to them directly about this? And every single time the person says, especially if because I'm dealing with high level leaders, they say, I would rather do it.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants their boss saying, I heard from so-and-so that you feel this way.
Right.
And what happens when you pose that question to someone is they realize the inevitable. They have to have a difficult conversation.
Bingo.
And that is the reality. But because you've talked it through with your boss, you maybe have some more clarity going into that difficult conversation.
Clarity and, like you said, my confidence, hopefully, to actually intentionally go after it.
Yeah, because if you tell your boss you want them to do it, two things happen. You also lose all credibility with your boss as a leader, right? Because now I go, oh, this person doesn't have the guts to go talk to someone when there's a problem. There's a mental note that happens, right? Unless they're feeling unsafe or something for some reason. But most of the time, people say, yes, I want to deal with it. They just need to talk through their frustration. And that's healthy, you know, instead of going with all your frustration.
That's a huge part of what leadership is.
Yeah.
It's that thing where you're just like, I don't want to do this. It's nice when you have a team you never have to do that with, but you're not really leading.
You're
coordinating or something.
Yeah, and most of the time, there is a version of this that has to go on. Anyway, thank you guys. Thanks
that was a good one. I like that one a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And we'll have many more of these over the next couple of months and on the podcast. If you have some things at home, some scenarios that you want to send in, we'd love to hear them. And maybe they'll be in a future episode of ours. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.